guys, on my DVD collection video I talk about my favorite 21st century horror films. Basically my favorite horror films from the last 8 years, from 2000 to 2008. And people have requested this for a while, and I finally have gotten around to doing this one. The first one I picked is a German horror film called Anatomie, which is basically, if you've seen that exhibit at the Science Center that travels around, which that German doctor or scientist, whatever you consider him, that takes bodies and like plastifies them so you can see the inside. It's very freaky exhibits, which I've never wanted to see those things, but it's basically that's what it is. It's in this movie. It's about this doctor that's taking the students and turning them into these exhibits. It's definitely worth checking out. They made a sequel that wasn't as good, but it's still worth checking out. You can usually find it for like $5. The next one I got, and this is, I have a couple copies of this because I bought the other one that came with Rings 2 or Ring, whatever that was called. But it's a remake of the Japanese horror film Ring U, which I didn't care too much for. This is the film too this film that really changed modern horror films, I think. For some good, things about some bad. Well, after this, they were making a lot of Japanese and Asian remakes of things like they did The Grudge, and they still are doing these things. And also, if you notice, the music in this type of music was kind of cloned in a lot of horror movies a few years after, continuously. Basically, though, the movie's about this videotape, where if you watch the videotape, I think 7 days later you die. And the girl comes out of the well, and you see her, and she kills you. It really was a pretty good one. The next ones are a Canadian film series, and I think all of them are good. And it's the Ginger Snap series. It's about this girl who's bitten by a werewolf, and then little by little, there's this girl. And you haven't seen these girls in anything in a while. I think the one was in like one of those Amanda Bynes movies. It wasn't that good. The one where she dressed like a brother or something. Basically, though, this movie, it's about she gets bit by a werewolf, and I think they both end up in one of the ones. It's basically like a werewolf film with her killing people, and it was very well done though. And they did 2 of them. The second one I haven't watched in a long time. I think it was in a sane asylum or something like that. And then they made a prequel, which was actually very good, which was not supposed to be the same girls, but it was supposed to be similar girls back in like the 19th century early, which was, for the budget they had, very well done. I think all of these are really good werewolf films, and you don't see a lot of really good werewolf films, and these are definitely ones to check out. The next one is a movie that a lot of people talk about, and I haven't watched it too many times, but it was funny and was a good spoof horror film of zombie films, and it's Shaun of the Dead, with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. And it's basically, there's a zombie outbreak in London, and they're hiding out in this pub, fighting off the zombies, and there were some really good gore effects in this, but it was definitely one to check out. The next one is a film from Zack Snyder, which is one of the better remakes of horror films, and it's the Dawn of the Dead remake. And, you know, I didn't like the mall as much in this one. It wasn't as cool of a mall, because, like, you know, that 70s mall in the original, you can't beat that mall. That's, when you think Dawn of the Dead mall, you know, I mean, that mall's still around today. You see it briefly in Zack and Mira Make a Porno, but it was, for a remake, it was very good. If you don't know the story, it's about a zombie outbreak, people hiding out in the mall, and it's pretty much like the same movie as the original one, only there's more characters in the mall, and I don't know, I didn't like it as much, but it was really cool, and I did like the ending to it. And I don't know if they're ever going to make a direct sequel to this, because the Day of the Dead remake had nothing to do with this, and it wasn't a good remake at all. If they were going to remake Day of the Dead, I'd rather they remade it like the original Day of the Dead with the underground thing, which was cool. Next one is a new horror film that's very well done. It's about it's called The Midnight Meat Train, which is a Clive Barker. He wrote the short story, and this is turning it into a feature film. This film too, it got really duped on when it came out. It was sent to a lot of these dollar theaters, so no one really got to see it. But it's basically about this photographer that Brooke Shields is the photographer's I guess, gallery owner or something like that. And she doesn't like his work. She's like, I want to see more brutal stuff from you, more real stuff. So one day he's coming home on the subway and sees this girl being mugged and starts taking pictures of it. And then she's like, oh, I like that. I want to see more things like that. And it's basically him following around this killer on the subway that he knows what's going on. He's following this guy around, taking the pictures of him killing them. And she loves the stuff. The next movie I picked is a very independent horror film. So I remember seeing the guy who was in the movie giving out these things to her, check out my movie, at Comic-Con, the janitor. And this was actually a pretty decent independent horror film about this janitor that works at, I think it's like an office building that's killing people off. And I don't know, it was definitely a very good 80s throwback. I liked it. I mean, I'm sure some people won't, but it wasn't bad. The next one is another remake that's very different than the original, called The Toolbox Murders. It was a Tobe Hooper film. And Tobe Hooper's done, in the last couple of years, some good, like really decent movies, some really bad things. He did one that was interesting, The Apartment Complex, I think it was called, which I don't even think is on DVD, which is a very interesting one. This, though, is about this killer who is killing people in this apartment complex building. Similar to the other one, no, but the other one wasn't a horror movie. I don't want to ruin anything about it, but I did really like this. Next one is a hunting movie. There was another very independent movie called Season of the Hunted, which I don't think many people have seen. Which I remember watching this, it was very cool. So these guys going out hunting, and this crazy guys out there shooting and killing them all one by one. But this was very well done for an extremely independent movie. Another independent one that I liked is called Ghost Rig, and the cover is awful. Yes, I know the cover is awful. But it's about these group of these, they were like sailing, and I haven't watched some of these things in a long time, so sorry if I can't explain them perfectly, like I can with the DVD updates. I'm trying here. But this is called Ghost Rig, and I believe it's this group of these people that ended up on it was like a oil pumping station. For some reason or another, they were there, and they were like seeing these ghosts and killing one another off. It was cool though. The next one I picked is Death Watch, which is a horror film which I feel like probably no one's seen this movie, and it takes place in 1917. It's about these like army soldiers, and they go into this war bunker, hiding out from the enemies, and it is so well done and so creepy. I mean, I got it at Hollywood Video, one of the ones that was closing down. It was only like $4 or something, but it's absolutely a must-see horror film that nobody's seen. And it's like a really good ghost story with a really good twist. Definitely check this out. Another good one is called Dead End, which is very, very creepy. It's about these group of these people. I don't know, they were going on a trip to go to something or another, but they end up in this accident. And then afterwards they're alright, and they keep going on this road, and the road never seems to end. It keeps on going and going. They keep going back to the same things again, seeing the same weird people on this road. It's a very good ghost story. Definitely need to check this out. You can't say much about it without ruining everything, but it's definitely a seldom seen one that was very good. A lot of these ones are some of the Lionsgate, which I'm sad to see they're not doing as many horror films anymore, like independent releases. The next one is a Jack Ketchum film, The Lost. This is based on his book, which is a very cool film. The opening is this very weird, like Greaser Fonzie type, but like Fonzie going bad guy, who's out with his friends screwing around in the woods, and he sees Misty Monday and the one girl who's always in those movies with her, and they get the idea that both of them are lesbians, so they kill them out there because they're kind of like crazy Christians, like weird, backwards kind of people. They kill them off. It's mainly him that does it, the guy. And then it's like this investigation that goes on years later. They can never prove that he did it. And then later he flips out and starts killing everybody off. And the one girl who's in this, I found out later, is the one from Ernest Scared Stupid. But it's definitely one worth checking out. The other one is a movie called The Cook, which was very cool. It was these sorority sisters who were in a sorority house, and they wanted to get a new chef that cooks for them there. And the cook they get is this crazy guy doing this, like, you will go do this weird accent. And he's basically killing them all and turning them into food and serving to the girls. That's basically the plot. But it's very, I liked it a lot. The next one is a horror film called Grizzly Park. And it's about a group of these, it's like a rehabilitation group for these troubled teens. So I think that taking them out into the woods and giving them a good time in nature is going to rehabilitate them and get their lives on track. Kind of like Sleepaway Camp 3. Similar idea with Sleepaway Camp 3. They took them out to the camping to try and get their lives together. This one's similar, but this time there's this killer grizzly bear killing them off out in the woods. And I thought for an independent film, this had pretty decent acting compared to a lot of these that are acting, which is... The next one is an Emily Blunt film. There's another one I don't think many people saw called Wind Chill. This is her and this kind of crazy guy from college, them going on this, taking her back to see her. He's driving her to somewhere back home or something, and they end up in an accident. Kind of like, all these have similar tones. A lot of movies are kind of similar. But they go out there and the car breaks down, and they're seeing these weird images of these people up on the hill. Very creepy film. And some really cool scenes in the diner in this. A lot of these you can't tell too much about them without ruining everything. Another one that I remembered liking, I think I only watched it once, but it was pretty decent, and it was a throwback to slasher movies. It was cut down, though, and I'm pretty sure I watched the unrated version, but it was really cut down for theaters. It was Cry Wolf. This is a movie you never hear anyone speak of. This like vanished off like, goodbye. I don't think I've heard anyone speak of this since it came out. And I think it was these kids playing this game. I don't want to ruin it, but it was one I liked. Another one was Rest Stop. Now, this is the first Rest Stop. This is the first or second one I'm showing here. The second one, yeah, this is the first one. The second one was really, I hated it. The first one was really cool, though. And Simone from Pee-wee is in this, you know. Ever have dreams, Pee-wee? She's in this as the crazy mother in the trailer. It's about these two going out. I think they're like running away or something, and they end up at this rest stop. The one girl goes missing, kind of like in the movie The Vanishing, and he keeps trying to find her, and she's gone. He goes into the bathroom and finds a note from her in there. And then there's these cool scenes with the cop, and it's all these things looping again and again, happening over and over. Very creepy, well done movie. The second one, though, really ate Duke. I mean, it really, really went downhill. The next one is one I've talked about a couple times, and it's like an excellent ghost story shot in a insane asylum called Session 9. It's about this insane asylum that's going to be torn down, but in order to tear it down, they have to remove all the asbestos, I guess, so it doesn't fly through the air and kill all the people tearing it down. Something like that. Well, they're removing all the asbestos from the place, and then the one guy in there finds these tapes, and these tapes of this mental patient that used to be there. And at the same time, there's all these creepy sounds and things they're seeing. And Brendan Sexton III is in this, who's a great actor who you don't see very much anymore, who was in Hurricane Streets and Welcome to the Dollhouse and a lot of really good movies. He was in Boys Don't Cry, and this is a very creepy horror film. I know David Caruso is in this that a lot of people don't like. You know, the redhead piace the bed kind of guy who's in like those cop shows all the time, like freeze their bag. People don't like him. He's fine in this though. Don't go just because he's in it. I'm not going to watch this. But he did do a good job. I would definitely check this one out though. Next one is not a zombie film, an infected film, and it's 28 Days Later. 28 Days Weeks Later, the sequel, just all right. And this was a shot on camcorder video. Takes place in England and London about this infected outbreak, and the one patient was Cillian Murphy, wakes up in the hospital and he's all by himself. Basically he was left in there in a locked room from the inside, and he goes out into the world and sees that there's all these zombies in there, and there's only like two or three people he runs into that are not infected, and it's them trying to get out of the city and find safety somewhere. This was a really good job film, and Danny Boyle has been doing some really great films lately, like Slumdog Millionaire. I'm sure everyone's seen that, and Sunshine. He's a very good director. The next one isn't, I mean, I think it was made in like 99. It took so long to come out due to so many problems. And a lot of people don't like this because they don't like Rob Zombie, but it really wasn't bad. I mean, it was really one of the better 80s throwbacks in years. I mean, it got everything right. And it's Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. I like Devil's Rejects, but it wasn't as cool as this was to me. It's about these, the best stuff was Sid Haig. Sid Haig was cooler in this than the other one, I think. Because he was working in this, like, sort of roadside attraction, haunted house kind of murder ride. And it's these group of these kids that stumble upon it because they're writing a book on like these cheap roadside attractions and the biggest ball of string and all that stuff. And he ends up going in there and hearing about Dr. Satan, and the kids want to like read about it and like follow up on it, so they get Sid Haig to draw them a map. And they go out there and end up getting lost, and then taken in by those the family, and then you know what happens next. Another one, which is a seldom seen recent horror film, which was made a long time ago, took a while to come out, which is one of my favorite things in a long time. And it's Homesick with Bill Moseley. Bill Moseley's only in it for a few minutes, but the scenes with him in this were so creepy. And it was just shot so well. I mean, I really loved it. And it's the really good 80s horror film throwback. And it's about these kids that are having a party, and Bill Moseley knocks at the door, and then comes into the house and starts talking to him. And they don't know how to get rid of him. And he says, "Who do you hate?" And then the people tell them. Then he cuts into his arm, and then little by little, all these people that they hate die off in the film. And it's definitely a must-see from Synopsis Films. Definitely, if you can find it, check it out. Another one, which is a recent horror film, is Jack Brooks' Monster Slayer, which is I really thought this was a pretty cool movie. I'm trying to remember the plot to it right now. I know basically there was this thing that gets into Robert Englund's mouth and turns him into this crazy monster. And like the transformation to Robert Englund in this were amazing. And this movie didn't use any CG, at least none that I could see. It was all practical gore effects and puppets, which were amazing. Definitely one to check out. Another one is that I thought was pretty cool was The Descent. It's a group of these cave explorers that end up in the cave with these sort of creatures. So you think, and I don't want to ruin it, but it was definitely one worth watching. I know they're doing a sequel to it now, which takes place. I don't want to ruin it though. The next one is Feast, and I think all three were good. I think 1 and 3 were the best. It's about these guys at the bar. There's it's a bunch of people at a regular bar, and then there's these creatures outside trying to get in, so they have to board up the door. A little similar to Dusk Till Dawn, only like reversed, but very well done splatter film. The first one didn't have any CGI, at least not that stood out. Second one, third one, they were using that and a little bit of bad green screen. The next one is one of my favorite directors who doesn't do much, Jeff Lieberman, who did Squirm and another horror film from the 80s. I can't remember the name of it right now. Just Before Dawn, and a couple really good films, Blue Sunshine. This was his return, and I hope he does more films again. It's with the sort of weirdish kid from Palindromes, the Todd Solondz film, and he's kind of like negative, and like people are sort of arseholes to him. And this guy in a mask comes to him, and this guy in this mask is like killing off everybody that is an ass to him. And the kid at first thinks it's a joke and thinks it's all fun, and then he realizes it's really happening. And this is a really cool one. The next one is one of these films that I think was much better than Hostel, and it's called Turistas, which a lot of people didn't care for, but I think it was good, and it didn't go down the extremely gory route that some of these other ones have. It was a little bit, but it didn't do that torture porn stuff like Hostel did. They're like, ugh, you don't need all that. But it's a group of these kids going down to Cancun, and I think they take a back route, and they end up being kidnapped, and they have to try and get away from this thing. It's very cool. Another one, you don't want to ruin anything about it, but if you've been holding off on seeing it, it really is a good movie. Next one, I forgot to bring out the first one, but the first Wrong Turn and second Wrong Turn, both of them are really cool. The first one is a group of kids that go out, and I think it was 2000 or 2001, the first one came out. They go out into the woods The main road of the expressway was backed up, so they take this back road. Then they end up getting, the car breaks down because they put down these chains in the road, and then they end up getting killed off by these weird mutants. And the second one is the same area, but they're doing a reality TV show, like a hunting reality game show kind of thing. Who can survive this out there? And then they end up all getting killed by these the same weird creatures. The next one, another one that was very cool, was Wolf Creek, which is an Australian film. A lot of these are similar in tone. These girls, I think it was two girls and a guy, that the car they end up stopping in the middle of an Australian desert just to like chill out, and they go back to the car and the car doesn't start, and then I think they stumble upon a house. This guy is real nice at first, and he's this crazy maniac who ends up torturing them. The next one is Slither, which is a James Gunn film. It's about these like little sluggish creatures that get into Michael Rourke and turn him into this crazed monster. A little similar to Jack Brooks, but it's definitely a really cool, kind of a throwback to like 50s and 60s horror films. Next one was a pretty cool film called Satan's Playground about the Jersey Devil, and Edwin Neal, who played the original crazed hitchhiker in Texas Chainsaw, was in this. Felicia Rose came back. I think this was her first movie. She came back after like 15 years or something. And another one it's about like they're out on this back road, and I think the one girl from Evil Dead was in this as well. They end up breaking down. A lot of these are about breaking down, and they end up in this crazed house, similar to Thousand Corpses, but a little creepier. Definitely one to watch. And the last one is Hatchet, which is a group of these kids, and it's a big tour group going out to explore the lakes of Louisiana. I think that's what it is. And then there's this crazed axe murderer out there. Definitely all these. I'm sorry I didn't have like huge descriptions for all these. Like I said, when you haven't watched these things in a while, it's hard to explain them. I can explain like the DVDs I've gotten recently really well because I've seen them. Some of these I haven't seen in like 8 years. But these are definitely ones that I think are worth checking out. Thanks a lot for watching, for subscribing, and see you all later.